I think, you said it, or one of your correspondents said it, that all of these countries are focused on so many issues that are happening domestically. It's difficult to try and discuss seriously what can be done on a complex multilateral level. The EU is so focused right now on trying to come up with some sort of Brexit deal, and each of the Arab states is focused on so many different issues, including domestic ones. In Egypt, they're talking about extending the presidential term limits, and they're trying to shore up their economy, and all the Arab Gulf states are focused on all of their own sort of economic diversification programs. And it's actually very difficult for the Arab League to come together and issue any sort of common decisions beyond just resolutions or statements. And so this kind of summit is really important for issuing common opinions on things, but it's really difficult to see it emerging with anything that's very tangible and on a multilateral level.
Emma, it's Hadley in Sharm el-Sheikh. I think it's interesting that you mentioned the Arab League because as Jumana and I know very well, when it comes to concrete actions from the League of Arab States, you don't see too much when it comes to actually moving the dial forward in any direction. I think that's something that most people who watch the Middle East can say with certainty, frankly. But I would ask you, in terms of what's going to happen next between the European Union and Saudi Arabia specifically, I think it's really interesting that something that's kind of been flying under the radar, given the murder of Jamal Khashoggi and all of the hoopla that's been surrounding that, not many people are talking about the fact that the European Union has really smacked Saudi across the bow when it comes to tariff financing and basically saying that they're not doing enough. They're putting them on a watch list once again. Where do you think that's going to go? Because essentially what we've seen as a result of that, we've seen Germany as well really holding back there, saying that they're not going to continue selling weapons to Saudi Arabia, for example, because of what's happening in Yemen, because of the fallout there, of course. And the wonder is, how much of this is going to spread to other countries, because certainly they've gotten blowback from their European allies on this. So where is that going to go, do you think?
Well, it certainly is very surprising for those who are watching to see Saudi Arabia appear on that kind of blacklist. We're used to seeing country names like Iran on tariff financing blacklist, but for Saudi Arabia to show up does mean that there is some potential risk for investments down the road between European companies, or between any companies really, and Saudi Arabian banks, if we continue to see any Saudi Arabian entities added onto blacklists. We haven't seen that kind of effort come from America, of course, because America is more hesitant, especially in the White House, to adjust and revise the relationship with Saudi Arabia. They really value it on a lot of different strategic levels, but especially the EU states right now really have been the strongest voices in trying to cut down on some of the arms sales that are going to Saudi Arabia, especially because of the ongoing war in Yemen, as well as to countries like the United Arab Emirates. And so I do think you're seeing the EU is really sort of leading the charge, but especially the parliaments, the elected governments that are in these countries, just like in the United States, the United States Congress is really becoming more vocal about trying to call for looking more introspectively at the relationship that these Western governments have with Saudi Arabia, just trying to encourage that the executive leadership of these Western countries really look at what are we getting out of the relationship with these Gulf countries in exchange for what we're putting in. So I do think we're at a moment of increasing tension, but because the Arab Gulf states do provide so much in return in terms of security ties, strategic ties, diplomatic weight for things like trying to come up with the next Arab-Israeli peace plan, there still is a lot of value that they bring to the table in so many ways. So we're at the beginning of a tense moment. We're not at the beginning of a breaking point.
Hey everybody, it's Hadley Gamble from our new CNBC Middle East Bureau in Abu Dhabi. Thanks for stopping by. Now to watch more, you can try one of the videos that just popped up on your screen. And don't forget to subscribe.